This program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program is not a solicitation or recommendation for any investment or security. Investments or securities mentioned in this show may or may not be owned by NEPSIS Advisor Services. NEPSIS Advisor Services is an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Welcome to Journeys with Joni. My name is Joni Rametta, and I'm here today with my co-host, Mark Clark. Join us as we travel on the financial road to clarity. Today is an exciting day because actually Mark's not in the studio with me. Mark's actually up in Minnesota with our CEO and Chief Investment Officer, Mark Pearson. So why don't you two, Mark, say hi?
It's an awesome morning up here. You know that. It's, don't you know, I think that's what I'm supposed to say if I'm in Minnesota. But yeah, it's an awesome show, Joni. We have Mark Pearson, our President and Chief Investment Officer, with us. Mark, say good morning.
Good morning, Joni. How are you?
I'm awesome, Mark. Thanks.
Outstanding.
I think the technology is just awesome. Here we are, I don't know how many miles away, but I know it's a 3-hour plane ride, and we're talking to each other like we're sitting next to each other. This should be a lot of fun, right, Joni?
It should be.
Technology is a great thing.
It is a great thing, especially
when it works.
Right?
That's right. That's right. There's always a few bugs you got to work out.
Well, I'm excited today to have you on, Mark, Mr. Pearson, because we need to discuss NEPSIS. We want to really discuss your background, give our listeners a little bit of history of NEPSIS Capital Management on your road to clarity. So maybe we'll start out with a little bit with your background, Mark.
Sure.
How long have you been in this? Why are you in this business?
Well, actually, I started in the business back in 1986. Looked like I was 15, acted like I was 9, and I was attending the University of Minnesota and decided that I wanted to be in the financial services business. I remember starting my own IRA in August of 1987. Of course, we all know what happened in October of 87. So that was my initial foray into the term volatility, obviously. Mm-hmm. But over the years, decided back in 1994 to start my business under a different name, which at the time was called Anchor. And it was approximately 2 years ago that we made a decision to change the name to NEPSIS because we felt that NEPSIS more clearly defined who we were, what we did, and why we did what we did, and helping our clients understand what they were doing with their portfolios and why. So we've now been under the name of NEPSIS Capital Management for the last 2 years. And this is, I often tell people and joke with them that I retired many years ago. This is a phenomenal business. It's a great opportunity to have impact on people's lives, and I couldn't be more pleased and happy to join with you and talk more about that.
So recap real quick before Joni asks you another question. NEPSIS has been the name for 2 years, but again, how long have you been managing money?
About 20 years, 1994. Actually, it was a unique situation. I was talking to Clarky, as we affectionately refer to him. Yesterday, I drove him by my last house and explained to him that this is the house we built. And 3 days later, I quit my job and started out as an independent advisor and manager on my own back in 1994. I tell most people that they think I'm nuts, but I wouldn't do it any other way.
Now, Mark, when you started this business, did you start it in your garage? I mean, haven't you seen those commercials lately about businesses that started in garages?
Yeah.
I don't think yours was a garage.
I'll tell you what, I did start in an office for 6 months, couldn't justify the expense. I was starting the business.
Right.
So I did move into my house and worked out of my house for years. And you bring up a great point. I originally didn't want to share with people my philosophy and strategy of how I knew money. I thought it was my own secret, and I wanted to be managing clients' money on my own. And over the years, I had more and more financial advisors and investors come to me and say, I love the way you manage money. I love the way you talk about how you manage money, and I'd like you to manage money for our clients. So long story short, really in the bottom of the market in February of 2009, we made a corporate decision to focus on working with financial advisors and their clients as opposed to private money management with private clients. And at that time, as I was managing money out of the basement of my house, we had about 45 million under management, and today, of course, we're close to 400 million. So we're seeing a tremendous response by investors to what we do and how we do it.
Yeah, I got a question for you, but Joni, Julie was in the car. That's Mark's wife, and her story of jumping out of the window and opening in the business was a little more humorous than Mark's presentation today. But
can only imagine.
Yes, our wives tell the whole other side of the story. But it was interesting, and it was a great conversation. And that's it. You have to step out. But one of the questions that I have, Joni's a CFP. You're a financial planner. The office is there on University Parkway. And you work with the clients, and now we have what people might assume to be another financial advisor on the air with us, but that's not the case. Mark, you're a money manager, and contrast that and put in harmony how you work with the financial advisor like Joni
Sure.
and the rest of our advisors across the country.
Well, that's a great question, actually a great point. One of the things that I think is an advantage of NEPSIS and what we do and how we do it is that I've sat on the side of the table talking to clients like Joni does, and obviously don't do that at this point anymore, but I know what's going through an advisor's mind when they're talking to their clients. I know what's going through clients' minds because I sat in those shoes. But when we made the decision to become a third-party money management firm, my decision at that time was that I wanted to partner with financial advisors because I felt that the best way to have impact on clients' lives was to partner with the advisor who the client trusts and help them down the road to clarity with the ideas that we had and have today of what we believe are keys to being a successful investor and doing, quite frankly, successful planning as Joni does.
Absolutely. Well, we're coming up on a break, Mark, so I want to continue this line of conversation after our break. So for those of you listening, you can get more information about the Road to NEPSIS and investing with clarity at www.journeyswithjoni, that's JONI.com. You can give us a call at 941-361-1484. If you go to our website, you can also listen to previous radio stations. We now have them labeled and dates on them. So if you want to listen to something that you maybe missed or catch something that you missed, we would love for you to take that opportunity. And Journeys with Joni will be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing with NEPSIS Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. I'm Joni Rometta, and just before the break, we were talking with Mark Pearson, the Chief Investment Officer at NEPSIS Capital Management, about why he does what he does. And Mark, just before we took the break, we were talking about the fact that you like to work with advisors such as me and helping me help my clients on their road to clarity and to NEPSIS, as we like to say at the office.
Yes.
Give us, we sort of stopped in the middle there. Is there anything else that you had thought of that you really wanted to express at this point?
Sure. Well, I felt that at the time, this was back in 2009 when we made the decision to work with financial advisors on a more direct basis. I felt that I had a belief, a mission, an ideal, a passion about investing. Certainly coming out of the financial crisis, it was another indication of how I thought investors really did not have an understanding of what they owned in their portfolio and why they owned it. And they certainly didn't have a process in which to take advantage of the financial crisis and take advantage of buying great companies, because crises like these only come around once in a generation. They are not something you see very often. And so when you have that kind of structural move in a market, it's a great opportunity for investors. And of course, based on what we believe in, we always think it's a great time to be an investor. But with that being said, I felt that it was all about, I often say to Clarkie about what we do, there are 2 very key important things. They are flexibility and scalability. And if you have a mission, a direction that you want to go and you want to share with people, you've got to do it in the most efficient, scalable way, and you've got to do it through the people who have the trust and confidence of the investors in the marketplace. And I think that serving the financial advisor community and helping them explain what it means to have clarity in their investing and in their planning, in their retiring, was the best approach for us to take. And that's the mission we're on now. And lastly, let me finish with this. As we built the foundation of the message to give to advisors and to their clients, Mark Clark had also been an advisor sitting on your side of the table. And the advantage that we have is that we know, again, as I said earlier, how investors think and how advisors think and what they look for and what they want to see. And we decided that when we were going to do this, we wanted to make it as easy as possible for financial advisors to work with us and help them or partner with them in conveying the message that we're so passionate about, the message of clarity.
I think one of the things that I like the best about working with you, Mark, is that, all of us advisors have an opportunity to speak with you every Friday morning, 30 minutes talking about, specifically the portfolio and purchases or sales that you've made, your overall thought process and little smidgens of a little bit here and a little bit there to sort of share with our clients about what's going on in the portfolio.
Yes. Well, thank you, and I think that's important. When you're a company that conveys the message of clarity, you want to have clarity in your own business and what you're doing with your advisors. And I find that the Friday calls are a great opportunity to not only give advisors an update of what's going on with the portfolios, but to also discuss other things that you alluded to here a minute ago. I often say, sometimes I get in trouble because I make statements that really throw people for a curveball. And one of the statements I often make to advisors and to investors who give me the puzzled look is, at the end of the day, it's really not about the investing that's most important. The investing is really a tactical component. Investing your money, multiplying your talents and the money that you're investing is really a tactical component to an overall strategy. Well, what is the strategy? Strategy is that many people want to have impact. They've worked very hard with their money for their money, and they want to make sure that their money is, yes, protected, but they also want to make sure it's utilized for the things that they want it utilized for. Hence, that's why you need a financial advisor. That's why you need to have someone like Joni who can step you through a process and helping you understand really what is important. And the investing component really is secondary because Joni, I've said this on the Friday calls, and it's probably important for investors to hear this. There's been studies done on why investors choose the financial advisors they choose. And rate of return is low on the list. It's, I believe, depending on the study, the last one I saw, I believe was number 4 or number 5. The most important thing was trust. Mm-hmm. It is about trust. Now, how do you obtain trust? The only way you can obtain trust is by clarity, by understanding what you're doing, why you're doing it, and working with someone like yourself who is willing to be open and share on a personal level what it is you want to do to help you accomplish your goals. And we also obviously call that living and planning with clarity.
One of the things you brought up is the Friday call. And Joni and I, we've been in this business a long time, just like you have, but we have never been in a position, and I'm speaking from an advisor seat at the moment, we've never been in a position where we've been able to interact and have a relationship with the money manager and then take that relationship to the client level, giving the client access to the money manager. And I think it's important for people to really understand, and this is what really jacks me up. I get all excited about the opportunity to spend my day doing this in the financial services space, if you will. But that's delivering an educational opportunity with our clients that is understandable. I think too many times people make the investment or they transition your accounts to us, Joni, and they say, here, take my money, but they really have no clue what's going on, and they have no understanding of what they have. They just hope and pray. And one of our goals at NEPSIS is to really eliminate that and provide them an education.
And I think
Yes.
we're coming up on a break, guys. But I think that's one of the really important things that we believe in our office is, listening to our clients tell us what they want. You can give us a call at 941-361-1484. We'd love to have conversations with you, further conversations about, what your experiences have been, what you want your money to do, what your life is all about, setting some goals with you so that, they're your goals, not our goals. Go to www.journeyswithjoni.com. Send us an email. Check for a workshop. We've got some of those coming up too. So right after the break, we're going to have a little bit more conversation with Mark Pearson and Mark Clark from Minnesota. Journeys with Joni. We'll be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing with NEPSIS Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. I'm Joni Rametta, and just before the break, Mark Clark and Mark Pearson were joining us from Minnesota. We are happy to have both of them talking with us today. We are reachable. NEPSIS Advisor Services here in Sarasota is located in the Home Bank building on University near I-75. Our phone number is 941-361-1484. And information is also available on our website, journeyswithjoni, JONI.com.
And, Joni, your website, the local website's linked to the NEPSIS Capital. I know we're talking with Mark Pearson today. Everybody gets confused. There's 2 Marks on the air with Joni. That's why I affectionately go by Clarky. I don't know how that happened, but it just did. But we've got a Keys to Investing link on the top title bar of our website. And it gives you an opportunity. You can go click on that and watch an 11-minute video that tells you about how we actually manage money. But I've got a question for Mark, but I know he wants to finish up a thought in reference to clarity. So, Mark, if you'd finish up the thought of clarity, and then you made some predictions at the beginning of the year, and we were talking this week as we were working about, follow up to those predictions, and you're dead on 10 for 10, right?
Yes, my predictions have been 100% correct.
Okay, but don't answer those now. Go back and finish the clarity thought. Now we got people. It's the predictions are on the website, so you can go find them. We're just having fun here, but they're true.
Well, my finishing my point was really about my passion is certainly managing money, but my bigger passion is really about impact and how do we help people have impact in their lives, and we want to have impact in our advisors' lives. And one of the things you alluded to earlier, Joni has also alluded to, is this idea of accessibility. And there's a lot of people that manage money, and there's lots of people that have stories, there's lots of people that have ideas, there's lots of people that have philosophies and strategies. But as I alluded to before, the money management component is really a tactical component of a bigger picture, structural, strategic component when you are an investor thinking about your money. And one of the reasons why a guy like Warren Buffett has been a successful investor is he thinks strategically, not tactically. I often ask people, how many market timers can you mention that have been successful like Warren Buffett? You cannot shoot a hole in a philosophy that says the key to successful investing over time is investing in great companies. And when you take that and you provide content and clarity and leadership and, if you will, accountability to your clients, as Joni does, it really provides a layer of transparency and a layer of clarity that allows an investor to be highly successful in their planning process. And that's why we love working with advisors like Joni.
Well, you led right into my question, and it's funny, we have this happen all the time. But here's the question. You're a money manager, and the investor, or our clients, if you will, Joni, they hand us their portfolio, and they have no real clue about what goes on every day. And they oftentimes are in, a a pool of mutual funds in their portfolio, and then they check it maybe once a month, once a quarter, whatever, and they have no idea what really happens on a day-to-day basis. And we have, and you've agreed to do another show with us next week, Mark, which is good. So we'll kind of carry the thought to that show, what we're going to talk about. We have 4 key components: philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency.
Yes.
And we don't want to go deep in today's show. That's for the next week, so tune back in next week. But what do you do all day in the portfolio? I'm not saying what do you do.
Exactly.
What in the world do you do all day? But what do you do?
Easy now.
What do you do in the portfolio?
Well, it's a great question. One of the advantages of working with us that we often tell people, and quite frankly, one of the disadvantages in working with NEPSIS is you see everything that goes on in the portfolio. You see every buy, you see every sell, and we've structured the portfolios in a manner where there are no trading costs when a buy or a sell is done in the portfolio. And not only that, we have utilized a term that we have trademarked called strategic cost averaging. And what strategic cost averaging is, it is a process of taking unequal dollar amounts and investing over time into the companies that you want to own. I wrote a blog piece a while back called "A Penny for Your Thoughts." Many of us have had a penny jar in our life, and many of us have probably taken that penny jar to the bank only to find out that we've got a lot of pennies in that penny jar, and we're kind of surprised by that. Well, that's kind of the process and philosophy I have about strategic cost averaging in the business. We may buy 1 or 2 shares into a holding that we have in the portfolio, and clients will say, buying 1 or 2 shares, that doesn't do anything to the portfolio. That doesn't matter. And I would completely disagree, because you're looking at a very small component of a very large picture. I often use the analogy of an automobile with our portfolios. Think of your portfolio like an automobile. When you go test drive a new car, you don't know who made the spark plugs. You don't know who made the brakes. You don't know who made the engine block. You just know that when you turn the key in the car, it's going to start. Well, that's how a portfolio should operate. And there's lots of moving parts within a portfolio that people try to dissect and understand. But at the end of the day, most of us don't even understand how a car works. Now, there's a few of us that do, and that's great. But for the most part, we just get in our car and turn the key and hope it starts.
No, we pray that it starts.
Yeah, especially in cold winters here in Minnesota. Well, when it comes to investing, I'm not saying that you just want to pray and hope that it works. What you have to do is rely on a philosophy and a strategy that is 100% accurate, that has no flaws to it. And when you have that philosophy and strategy, you can stick, as I often say, stick to the knitting, stick to your penny jar, continue to invest in the great companies over time so that when you cash in, you'll be amazed at how much you have.
Okay, so we have about 2 minutes left, a little more than 2 minutes, and you're going deep on people. And I can see our listeners, not that I can see through the radio, but I can see people wanting more about this. So make sure you tune in to next week's show, because we're going to go deep. We're going to keep Mark around, and next week when he talks, we're going to talk deep about this. But if we can go deep for just a quick second, we're not talking about market timing. We're not talking about a trader mentality. We're talking about buying good companies over the long haul and having a good strategy that you stick to. Regardless of what happens in the markets and the news, you stick to the game plan that you've put in play.
Yes, and that process is really stuck on a foundational component that Joni does, which is a very detailed investment policy questionnaire that we've created and a 16, 17-page investment policy statement. Now, maybe you'll read the investment policy statement, maybe you won't. But here's the bottom line. It's about clarity and accountability. And when you can convey to the client as an advisor with confidence what you're doing in the portfolio and why, it provides a layer of clarity that many, many investors have never had in their lives before. And we get a lot of comments as we deal with clients all over the country about the ability to see what is happening in that portfolio and why. And we call that investing with clarity.
So that takes us back into next week. You've got to tune in next week. But if people want to get a hold of us, Joni, how do they find us?
You can find us at journeyswithjoni, JONI.com. And on that site, you will also get access to the blog that he mentioned, Penny for Your Thoughts. You can give us a call at 941-361-1484 or stop by the office at 6230 University Parkway. We're in Suite 305. Well, thank you for sharing your time with us today. I hope you learned something good. Tune in next week to finish the conversation with Mark Pearson. Thank you for joining Journeys with Joni. We'll be back next week. Until then, thanks for listening.
This program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program is not a solicitation or recommendation for any investment or security. Investments or securities mentioned in this show may or may not be owned by NEPSIS Advisor Services. NEPSIS Advisor Services is an SEC-registered investment advisor.